spectacular venue that we've had, Legends of Millennials. Every year just keeps getting better. So I just want to thank the PAM Museum for allowing us to host it here, and thank you for all of our panelists. You guys are very, very lucky to be, up here on stage at the PAM Museum. So we're just gonna go ahead and get started, but first I'm going to announce some of our sponsors. Katie from TrueView, why don't you come up here and let us know that everything about TrueView Home Inspections has to offer us.
Thank you, Bethany. We are super excited to sponsor this event for the YPN. For those that do not know me yet, my name is Katie, and I am from TrueView Inspections. We are a home inspection company that services Miami-Dade, Broward, and Palm Beach. And we know that the inspection comes at a critical time in your real estate transaction, and I am here to tell you what makes us a little bit different. So number one, we have immediate report delivery. Excuse me, sorry. So what does that mean? No more waiting for a couple hours. The next day, you will receive your report on the spot before the inspector leaves the property. We have immediate report delivery, so you receive the report on the spot before the inspector leaves the property. Number two, all reports come with HD pictures and videos. They say a picture is worth 1,000 words. Well, imagine how many words a video is worth. It adds a lot of value to the report for the buyers. And number three, we have a 200% satisfaction guarantee. So for whatever reason, you and your client are not satisfied within 24 hours of receiving your report, we're not only going to refund the money, but we're gonna go ahead and pay for a subsequent inspection up to the original value that they paid with us. So like I said, we have immediate report delivery before I started choking on my gum. We have HD pictures and videos of the reports, and we have a 200% satisfaction guarantee. We're gonna be here in the back if you have any questions, and we'll be very happy to assist you in your next transaction.
Thank you so much, Katie. We appreciate all your support. You guys have supported us for a very long time. And so up next, I'm gonna introduce Megan Fink. She is with the home team of Round Point Mortgage Servicing Corporation. Megan, why don't you make your way to the stage and let us know all the amazing things that Round Point has to offer us. Let's give a hand clap for Round Point Mortgage.
Hey guys, for you guys don't know me, I'm Megan Fink with the home team. We transitioned from Freedom Mortgage to a subsidiary, which is Round Point Mortgage. More technology, products, and more flexibility. But aside from the regular business stuff, we're here to build relationships. That's our business. We're here to bring value, and how can my resources elevate you as an agent? Whether you need more help with your branding, your marketing, anything like that, lead generation, that's what we're here for. The products, everything, that's all industry standard, but we're here for the relationship, and that's why for us it's critical to mingle with organizations like the Miami YPN, which are movers, are entrepreneurial, and that's what we're all about. And I hope to talk to you later.
Thank you so much. Let's give one more hand clap to our sponsors. They're the reason why we're able to host these events and do these amazing venues, and we thank them so much. Okay, so now I'm gonna go ahead and announce the Millennials Panel. I'm gonna bring them up one by one. As they're walking up, I'm gonna read their bio and give them a little time to shine as they walk down to the stage, okay? So first up, we have Wesley Ulloa. Wesley, please make your way to the stage. Looking super cute when you're coming. Wesley Ulloa is a Miami native. She is the broker owner of Lux Properties, which I'm sure you've all seen around town. In 2019, she was our Miami YPN president. She's also the reason why I wanted to become president. I looked up to her on the board, and she really motivated me to step into this position. She's a dog mom with 2 beautiful cocker spaniels, and as you can see, she has another bundle of joy on the way, which Wesley, we are super excited for her. She graduated with a master's in international real estate from FIU. She's grown her brokerage to over 300 agents. She plays the violin in her spare time, which you might need to play for me because I haven't seen you play yet. And you should ask her about her Game of Thrones rendition because she's obsessed. She's known for her amazing hospitality and known for throwing some of the best parties. So we just want to welcome Wesley to the stage. All right, up next we have Marcelo Steinmander. Please make your way to the front, Marcelo. Marcelo works with EWM Berkshire Hathaway Home Services in Miami Beach. Originally from Venezuela, Marcelo recently became an American citizen in 2019. We were all able to celebrate that with him. He is grateful to have found his American dream in Miami, and to date, he has been known for putting together some of the biggest multi-million-dollar deals in Miami Beach and downtown and Brickell. Miami YPN happens to call him the Condo Slayer, and today you're going to find out why. So let's welcome Marcelo. Up next, we have Joanna Jimenez. She is a Florida native and principal of Opals Group at Compass, where she leads a team of 15. She graduated from Florida State and started the team back in 2015 before being acquired by Compass in 2021. In her free time, she enjoys trying new restaurants, traveling the world, and spending time with her husband and daughter. She also has another baby along the way. Whatever's in the YPN water, I am not drinking it. But I'm so happy that they're bringing babies into our lives because these are our future leaders. All right, and she also has 2 dogs, Rico and Moshi, dog lovers. All right, last but definitely not least, we have Tomas Sulichin. Come on, Tomas. So the cool thing about Tomas is that he is our first commercial realtor on the panel, so this is something new that we're doing, but we definitely think it's very important to implement for Legends and Millennials. He was born in Argentina and he moved to Miami as a young child. He is now the president of the commercial division for Related ISG. He has closed some of the biggest deals with huge corporations such as AT&T, Toyota, Honda. He's also represented some of the biggest developers in South Florida, along with making some record-breaking sales in all the hottest neighborhoods. Key Biscayne, Brickell, Wynwood, you name it, Tomas is selling it. So let's give a hand clap for Tomas. All right, so we're just gonna get right into the questions. The first one's gonna be, somewhat generic, but I'm sure you guys have your twist to it. So we all want to ask everybody, and we can start with Wesley and work our way down. How long have you been in the industry? Why did you become a realtor? And what was the one thing you knew going in, you wish you knew going in? So the 3-part question.
Testing. Hi everyone, how are you? My name is Wesley. As you know, I've been in the industry 15 years. I got into the industry because my dad was an entrepreneur, had a bunch of businesses, lost everything. I always wanted to own my own business, but him losing everything impacted me because I saw what my mom and my family had to go through, and I was like, I never want to be in that situation. So I got very motivated to make my own money. During that time, we had the boom, the real estate boom. That was right after that was 2006. I got my license, 2007, market crashes. Needless to say, I was thankful anyways because of that, I was able to learn the hard way, how to survive. But I wish I would have known the importance of getting a mentor early on, somebody to help you, because I had to figure out everything the hard way. And not comparing yourself to others. It's very easy in this industry, like in social media, to see everybody's glitz and glam, when in reality, it's not true. So learning to hold your own, believe in yourself, and getting a mentor.
Thank you so much. Marcelo.
Test.
How long have you been in the industry? Why did you become a realtor? And what's the one thing you wish you knew going in?
So, I jumped into the business right after high school. I think for 6 months after I graduated, I think I might have worked for $8.50 at a sub shop, doing Philly cheesesteaks. It was fun. I can still remember how to do it, but I knew I definitely wanted to do that for a long time. And I figured, okay, it's good money until, $450 at 18. You think it's a lot of money, per week. But I got my license because there was really not much to lose. When the business at the time was at the bottom of the barrel. We're talking about 2011, 2012. So we're seeing the aftermath of what happened in the crash. I knew, like Wesley mentioned, that I wanted to have my own business. I wanted to find a business that felt empowering, where there really wasn't a ceiling. And thankfully, and I hope it stays the same, real estate has a the barrier of entry is very open, and it gives a chance for anyone, whether you have a college degree or not, whether you're a U.S. citizen or not. If you want to sell, just get your license, have a clean record, go to Gold Coast, get started. So very few careers at the time or openings at the time, I think, offered that opportunity. So when I saw that and pairing that with the architecture that I was seeing at the time and the opportunities, it was a no-brainer. Something just clicked and it just made sense. I just said, okay, let's go. Let's get started.
Awesome, thank you so much. Joanna.
Hi, so I've been in the industry for 10 years. I grew up with family in construction, so I knew I always wanted to do something real estate related. So during and after college, I worked in a variety of companies that were all real estate related, either real estate or finance. And I was at Morgan Stanley, and I had won a top sales associate award. And I was so excited, and I, ended up finding out, I was like, what's next? And they were like, well, it's the same position, just a fancier title and a little more pay each year. And I was so disappointed. So to me, I was doing real estate part-time at the time, and I was like, that was my aha moment to do real estate full-time, where I would never have that, someone stopping you from where your potential is. Something I wish I knew then that I know now is just as much as this business is real estate, it's also very entrepreneurial. So the better you guys can get at tracking your numbers, seeing where your best ROI is and investing in that heavily from the beginning, the more success you will have. And another thing that I struggled with a lot in the beginning was we're such a volatile business. So it's so easy to get emotionally caught up. So the faster you can get at learning how to manage your emotions, the business gets way easier.
Thank you, Joanna. Tomas.
First and foremost, is this on or no? Yes. First and foremost, thank you, Bethany, for having us. Very excited to be here in person in a venue like this. I've been in the industry for about 10 years now, which seems like a long time, but it's gone by quite quickly. I originally got in for a few different reasons. My family has been in the industry for a long time. They were actually, my mother and father were one of the first real estate companies in Sunny Isles, so it was a regular topic of discussion at the dinner table. And another reason, I always liked sales. I never liked any salary-based job because there's no motivation factor. I mean, whether you work super hard or whether you're lazy and you're still making, let's say, $1,000 at the end of the week, there's nothing that's gonna push you. So I always had commission-based jobs, and if I'm being completely honest, I mean, the initial reason that I got into real estate was money. I mean, it's one of the few professions that you could do a sale and make 50 grand, make $250,000, make whatever figure you basically want. So that's what initially really attracted me to it. But since then, it really has become so much more. I mean, it's something that I'm extremely passionate about. I'm thankful every single day that I'm in this profession. I mean, the team around me, I learn from them daily. Being in commercial real estate, my clients, for the most part, are very financially successful. So I'm even able to learn from clients, even somebody that I help. It's at the same way helping me grow on a daily basis. So it's just great. I really like all aspects of it. One thing I would probably tell my younger self is exactly what you said. It's control your emotions. Real estate is an emotionally tasking business, especially in commercial side, that you could be invested sometimes 2 months, 3 months, 4 months on a particular deal, and it might not go through. And when I was younger, that would take a toll on me in a huge way. And when something goes wrong in a deal, that's the time that you have to be the most relaxed. I mean, this is chess, not checkers, and you gotta think of your next move. You gotta prepare the emails the right way, and you gotta do everything possible with a clear mind in order to get the deal done. And if you're upset, if you're angry, that's not gonna do anything for the deal, for your client, for the transaction yourself. So I would definitely try to control my emotions, which is something that still work on to this day, but I think I've gotten a little bit better at this point.
All right. Thank you so much for that. This is giving us a little bit of insight of who you are, what you do, why you got started. And I'm sure for some of you, who are out there who are possibly just getting into real estate, it's so nice to hear different versions of those who maybe started from day one that way, had family in it, or those who completely changed career paths after working in a different industry. So it just goes to show you, there's so many things that we can take away from this, especially if you're newer agents that are here listening. Okay, so we're gonna get into some prospecting questions, and I have some tailored questions to Wesley and Marcelo, but I'll start with Wesley. You have a brokerage, you have a lot of agents. I've actually seen you do trainings on this, and this is why I'm gonna ask you. I want you to show us, or give us a little insight on your unique ways of prospecting.
So I'm gonna give you guys a few tips. I still do sales. So one of the best ways that I found prospecting in the past couple years to get the best ROI is actually sending gifts and staying in touch with your past clients. I send gifts to my clients every 3 months. They get a gift at their house, reminding them of who I am, staying top of mind. I learned the hard way. I had over 800 transactions and I never stayed in touch with anybody, except if it was in an email blast or here and there, but nothing systematic. I went back, I went through my entire database of all my sales and it dwindled down to like 120 contacts. So I lost a lot of people. But I sent them all gifts. I sent them a $30 gift. In total, I spent probably $3,000, $4,000. I don't know exact, but very minuscule. That year, I got over 10 transactions, over $100,000 in commissions. I lost count. I kept on getting people that I hadn't spoken to in 10 years reach out to me to sell their house, reach out to me to buy, referrals, and I've kept it going, and pretty much I focused mainly my personal business on that. Another thing that I do to prospect, I believe the riches is in the niches by far. So I specialize in historic homes. You guys could check out my Instagram page, Miami Historic Homes. I actually get business just from my website, posting on Instagram, people reaching out to me to buy, sell, rent historic homes. So, really leveraging your specialty will help you get further. Is there anything else you wanted me to cover?
Just regarding your team, how do you train your agents to prospect? Let's say newer agents that come to the brokerage.
So newer agents, highly recommend, I teach a 3-tiered system. Sphere is one of them, right? You really have to leverage your network first. That should be the foundation for your business. You shouldn't pay for leads, or you shouldn't go and try to get leads another way without working your network and creating a system for them to reach out to you, remember that you're a realtor. So between calls, emails, gifts, very important, and just social media, you need to do that systematically. Networking is really big. I try to attend once a month somewhere where I could grow my personal network, put them in that same database. Speaking of networking, so I do my own kind of networking. I like history. I go on history tours. I've actually gotten listings from going on history tours. So finding something that you could be that realtor of choice really, really helps. Then professional networking as well. Build a network of people to reach out, like your lender, your title company, your home inspector, and leverage that. That's really where I think networking should be. I don't think you should network with a bunch of other realtors. It's great if you want a referral network, but I really think you should try to find your personal network similar to a BNI. Then I recommend you try to leverage I'm a huge Zillow fan. You guys will probably hear me talk about it a lot today. But then try to leverage online leads to fill in the gaps, because referrals will never be predictable. I could talk for days. And then other online leads, Sync. I'm a big fan of online leads. I've been on Zillow when they used to send us leads for free. So I'm a big believer in it. And then pick a specialty. So I'll leave it there.
Thank you so much. That's it. The riches are in the niches. She actually teaches a class on that at the board, and that's why I thought it was great to share. Okay, so Marcelo, this is a prospecting question for you. I know that you've done a lot of international deals, and I remember you even taught a class at D4 once about selling your deals and prospecting for international clients. So can you give us a little bit of what you do, your unique ways when it's dealing with international clients?
Sure. So the advantage of my market is that just like Wesley has a niche with historical properties, with time and with a lot of time invested and a lot of energy invested, I've been developing my own niches, and those are primarily the condo market. I have, tried my best to really put myself out there as somebody who knows the downtown Miami market inside and out. If not only can I tell you what which building that is by just the address or by pointing to me at what building it is, but I know who built it, I know when it was built, I probably will know or may know who the general manager of the building is, who's the management company of the building, what the floor plans look like, what are the finishes, what was the vision of the developer, and if I go even further, for example, on certain price points, like let's say under $1 million, I might even have a database in regards to the budget, whether there's pending litigation, because especially if I'm doing lead generation, I want to try to make sure that the building, for example, has Fannie Mae guidelines compliant. Otherwise, we have to go into a non-conforming loan, or we may have a potential issue where we have to go over 25%, or we may not even do Fannie Mae. So all of that knowledge has enabled me to an extent, allow people to come to me rather than me go to them. Just because the whole idea was to provide so much value that it's almost like, why would you want to talk to someone? Pairing that with, just being accessible, answering the phone, being easy to reach. Obviously I have WhatsApp, we have time zone within our system, and obviously, I really do try to take pride on my word choice and also how I structure my emails and my conversations, just because, when you're dealing with an international customer or somebody from abroad, that initial conversation and that warmth that you bring to that conversation is going to be what is going to get them to trust you enough to potentially even buy the property sight unseen without even meeting you, like maybe just seeing the floor plan.
And I'm going to direct the conversation because I know you had a little specialty in selling property sight unseen and possibly double-ending these deals, and you had a little trick that you were doing to promote these properties to make that happen. Can you share with us one of those little tricks that I know you shared before in another class?
Sure. So it's really not that big of a deal. It's called answering the phone.
Not talking about that one. But that's a good one, because I don't think anybody has to about these things.
I'm actually freaking out slightly because, I'm making eye contact with Shannon. I'm like, has anyone answered the phone? Like, you answer the phone, is anyone calling? Because we have a closing later. But it's just answering the phone and just, I live with my phone all the time. Like, I'm going crazy. Like, where's my phone? Like, I thought I lost it out there. And
you got your phone, chill.
Yeah, and I was doing, we want to go the tech savvy route. I was a big fan of Matterport. We were using Matterport even in 2017, 2018, so before COVID. But I don't want to, honestly, you don't really need that. For example, I'm thinking of Unit 2708, which we're listing again today for rent. That unit was a phone call that came in on a Saturday afternoon. I was on my way to have dinner with my parents. I got a call from a guy who says, look, I don't know you, but I'm calling you from Dubai, and me and my fiance were looking at this unit, and look, it's crazy, but we like it. We're going to make an offer. And at first I'm like, ha ha ha, this is a scam. But then, my training kicks in, and I start asking my qualifying questions. I asked them, who is this title? How much inspection contingency? Do you have proof of funds? It was legitimate. I made a U-turn, went back down to my office, and by 10 o'clock that night, we had an executor contract. They wanted some videos, so I went at 11 o'clock, we made some videos, we got the lights on, and deal.
So that's when you double-ended.
Just her work, yeah, that was a double-ended.
That's where the money comes
one
in, right?
of multiple deals where it's just a matter of answering the phone, because that's what's going to get you, the listing agent, to have both sides, rather than call another agent who will then call you on their Tuesday.
Absolutely. Thank you so much. Joanna, I know that at one point you were targeting engineers through promotional ads and sponsored posts. What unique strategies like that can you share with us, and how did that work out for you?
So relating to that one, so I think it's all about learning and seeing. So for example, there was a lender that told me for certain professions, he can do 100% financing. That was attorneys, engineers, architects. No one in that profession knew that. No realtor knew that. So let's start, using videos to educate these people. And guess what they do? They share it with their architect friends, their engineer friends, and their attorney friends, and then they, it builds future referrals, and you get that client. So we were doing that. So anytime you learn something new, I think it's all about providing value and sharing that. So sometimes they'll just ask you questions and maybe go with another realtor, but just provide that value. One, very similar to Wesley, our unique, I would say we have a client service model, which is exactly that. Touch the client every 3 months. And it doesn't have to be a $30 gift. It could be just, you know, that little $2 dollar that you just got. Send that to your clients with a little, like, you know, handwritten note card. Or send them a little gift with a, you know, a little candle and a little something. So it's all about like touching and staying face to face, because many realtors do not follow up with their clients after closing. And that has brought in about 50% of repeat and referral business every single year. So that client service model, another thing we do is 8 clients, we send them a birthday cake to their job. Why? Because their coworkers are gonna be like, oh, who sent you the cake? My realtor. Your realtor doesn't send you a cake? So, you know, little things like this go a long way, and that's how you keep building that repeat and that referral business.
Thank you, Joanna. Okay, Thomas, being that you're the only commercial realtor on the panel, I want to know, how does prospecting for you differ than for them?
Well, it's hard to say how it differs from residential, because I really, at a very, very early stage of my career, I went into commercial, so I could talk about more.
So you've been in commercial the whole
basically
time?
my whole career.
So then tell us, how do you prospect for these big deals that you've been doing in commercial?
So right now, I've been able to build up to a point that right now it's a little bit more on autopilot, and the majority of my deals are kind of on a referral basis or existing clients that just want to resell their assets. But the key is, how do you get started in it? And it's a combination of 2 things that I did initially, which one of the panelists mentioned it. Initially, I went through my inner circle. So I made a list of basically all my family members that were over the age, I guess, of 21. And I called them and I asked them for 2 names. And you'd be surprised how hesitant people are to give you 2 names. And all I said was, anybody that you know that has maybe bought or sold real estate in the past few years. One thing that I try to do different when I ask for the names is not ask for people that are local in Miami, because if you're starting in real estate and you're trying to target Miami people, it's going to be very difficult for you, because it's such a big industry here. Everybody has an uncle, a friend, a sister, whoever that's already in the business. So what I did is, give me 2 names. I was born in Argentina. Give me 2 names of somebody that you know in Argentina. I would call somebody in New York. Give me 2 names of somebody that lives in New York. Give me 2 names of somebody that lives in Colombia, wherever, and start building up on that. You gotta be really persistent. I would say, I'm not getting off the phone with you. I'm gonna call you 10 times today until you give me 2 leads. And I really push them until you start working that. And that's one of the key ways that I initially got started. The other way, which everybody's so hesitant and scared of, and it's not so much fun, but it's a reality, is hitting the phones. People are so scared to make cold calls. And right now we have the information's at your fingertips. So everybody with a computer could pull up different websites, whether it's Miami-Dade Property Search, LoopNet, the MLS, and pull up property owners' records. So I would go through a list and I'll create basically a profile of properties that were bought 10 years ago in, let's say, multifamily class, and I'll select 100 properties and literally sit there and call after call after call. If you're able to keep a conversation going with somebody that you don't know, you're gonna be good at sales. I mean, that's exactly, that is like a critical part of sales, is being able to call a random person, get them on the phone, get them feeling comfortable. And I tell the people around me, or new people on my team, all the time, and they might do it one day for an hour, and they don't see the results, so they're like, that doesn't work. Thinks you're not gonna get a $5 million listing or $1 million listing because you decided on one day to make an hour worth of calls. You gotta do it Monday through Friday. You gotta put in your schedule to block, let's say, 2 hours out of your day to make 50 calls, and I promise you, within 1 month, you're gonna get 1 lead or 1 deal. You do that times 12, that's enough to live comfortably on. So that's reality, and everybody can do it. You just got to put the effort and the time into doing that.
I always say, before you exhaust purchasing leads, really obsess over your sphere. Have you called everybody? Do they know what you're doing? Have you called them 3 times? Because before you go into purchasing leads, you need to exhaust everybody in your sphere. Make those phone calls, which not many people want to do.
100% everybody.
Okay, so now we're going to go into a little bit of a story time. So I always like to find out, because in real estate, we live transaction to transaction sometimes in the beginning. And sometimes there's either that one crazy story, one crazy deal, or aha moment that happens in your life where it really changes the trajectory of your real estate business. So I either want you guys to share your craziest deal, your craziest moment, maybe your biggest deal, or that aha moment where you said to yourself, I can do this. Real estate, we're going all in. Because I know in the beginning it's not always like that. Some people could have been born into it. Some people can be good from the beginning, but that's not usually the case when you're becoming an entrepreneur, business owner in the real estate game. So Wesley, give us the go. I feel like you have lots of crazy stories.
I mean, I have a lot of crazy stories, so I could be here for days. Nothing really sticks out, but I'll give you guys a few things that have happened to me. I think all of you know where your first deal comes from, right? So everybody remembers their first deal. So funny, you asked on the questions like funniest. The funniest thing is my first deal actually came from Backpage. I don't know if you guys remember what that is.
Yeah. What's Backpage?
Nobody remembers? It sounds okay. Well, it was, but basically, I guess it went out of business because basically also other people were using it as like a X-rated prostitute site as well. But before, when I didn't even know what it was, and I had this website that I purchased, and they would send over, you would send it to Craigslist, and you would send it to Backpage. I'm like, okay, I'll send it wherever. And some random guy calls me, ends up calling on a property. I have to drive all around Miami, and then he called on a property in Doral. My first deal had to take him to Hialeah, Miami Springs, Doral, everywhere in Miami. The guy ended up purchasing in Pembroke Pines. Took me 7 months, but I got it done. I mean, other things that have happened to me, I would have done anything at the beginning of my career to get a deal done. It was a whole different era, tons of REOs, tons of short sales, so I lived through that time. I would have to do evictions to get deals done when I had an REO account. I would have to jump fences in Liberty City. I would rip my pants some days just to go post notes. So I would pretty much do anything. My aha moment would be every January. I'll never forget, so I'll leave it to that. So my business was going well during this downturn. I was picking up, but I would still have a lot of difficulty with myself, right? Because if you don't have any deals on your plate, you're like, oh my God, I'm out of business. Where's my next deal gonna come from? So every January, I'll never forget, I would literally be in tears crying because I'm like, I have no deals. I'm so used to having like 2-3 deals a month. And I would go January and 0. February, and I'm like, maybe I have 1, and I'm like, oh my God, am I gonna have to get a job? This was years ago, but yes, I would be super upset. My aha moment came that once I learned how to always keep my pipeline full, right, and double down during Q4, that I would work harder. I was like, November, December, I realized I would be taking breaks, family time, this, that, you don't have to work as hard. I actually started doubling down, and then I started having a great January and a great February. And I never went another month without a deal again. So that was when I knew I could survive and do anything. And I think that's what finally pushed me a couple years later to open up the brokerage and go that route.
Don't put your foot off the gas, right? Marcelo, tell us.
I've done my fair share of fence jumping and almost get arrested and for trespassing, but if I had to pick one that was also an aha, and I guess it made me realize how much potential, I can actually get this done, I can survive in this business. It would be Friday, December 30th, 2016.
Okay, he has the date. I'm sure you have the time.
Friday, December 30th, 2016. And I sold the house in 1 day. We put the contract in the morning and we did the closing in the afternoon. Giovanni, the attorney that did the closing, is actually here with us today with Supreme Title. And I had the buyer and we had to close by the end of the year because of portability. We could not find a house until we maybe found one maybe a couple days before Christmas. The deal was, we were not getting anywhere. Even though it was a cash offer, They were overpriced. We had to do potential post-occupancy because it was too soon. So we weren't really getting anywhere, but we actually, right at the last minute, were able to get it done. I go in the afternoon right before, on the 30th, like, there's nobody at the office, and my manager's like looking at this at the time, he's like, what the hell did you do? And little did she know, and anyone else knew, is that just in case, because I was confident I was going to be able to get this done, I had called the title company about a week or two before the 30th, and I told them to get the lien search, the stop hold, and everything ready, just in case. And if the deal didn't go through, I will split the difference with the listing agent. So Miami management came through. They had the stop already with the final, prorations for the homeowners association. We had the lien search and everything back from Pembroke Pines, because this was a deal in Grand Palms. It's a gated community on West Pines. And then I myself contacted Wells Fargo with the loan number, and I got the payoff for the seller. We did the inspection right after the contract, and when we went straight to the close. And it was at the time, it was the biggest deal of my career. And
How much?
It was $660,000 deal. And then after that, I think I must have sold 4 houses the next month, and then 3 or 4 more the month after, just because the confidence that it gave me was just so empowering. That it's like, okay, if I can do this, I can do anything else. I can do way easier things.
That's good. Thank you so much. Joanna.
You reminisce on the jumping fences and going into wrong properties, but I'll share with you guys a funny story. So last August, I was 9 months pregnant, and I was at an open house, and I go to the bathroom, and I'm like, oh my God, my water broke. So I freaked out. It was my first pregnancy, and I called my parents. They lived nearby. I go, you have to come pick me up. My water broke. I had to go straight to the hospital. Thankfully, I had a colleague there with me, so I had to tell him that my water broke and I was leaving. And then the owners had cameras, so I was like, they're gonna see me rushing into this car, like I need to tell them. So I told the owners, I'm sorry, my water broke, I'm rushing to the hospital, don't worry, there's people in the house, there's someone here in my TV, you're good. So I got to the hospital and it was a false alarm. And now I know for this one. But 2 weeks later, we had received an offer for the same property, and I was in labor. So I was in labor negotiating this deal back and forth with these owners. So we got it in contract, but the moral of the story is they ended up knowing a lot more than my personal life. But you do what you can to get the deal done, So it goes to show, I think they respected me, I would say. I would hope.
Oh my God. Talk about no days off. I've heard many stories of people sending wires in their labor bed. Talk about dedication to the industry. Okay, Tomas, tell us what.
So
Share.
my probably craziest real estate story was towards the beginning of my career. It was one of the first big development deals that I was working on, and I had a group from Argentina coming in 2 days prior to the closing to go through a good amount of paperwork and get everything ready in order to really get the transaction closed. Something that I was working on probably for maybe 4 or 5 months, which meant the world to me. We met with them in the Mondrian in South Beach, and we sit down, we're having lunch, and we have a stack of papers that we have to go over to the day prior of the closing. There's a million things I remember. So we're kind of going through the lunch, and one of the partners, it was 3 guys, one of the partners starts complaining that he's not feeling good. So guys, naturally being guys, stop being so soft, relax. We order him a drink or a shot. I'm like, it's a jet lag, you're gonna be fine. So we just kind of keep going through the meeting, and this guy just kind of keeps complaining. He's like, no, I'm really not feeling good. And once again, everybody's like, relax, get over it. We gotta get through. There's too much things that we gotta get done prior to tomorrow. All of a sudden, basically, the guy starts screaming and falls to the floor. And we're like, okay, something's happening. I'm like, okay, it's not that, it's jet lag. Something's going on. So I'm freaking out in my mind. We actually jump in my car and drive to Mount Sinai Hospital, and the guy's appendix ended up bursting. Which I don't know, luckily, that's never happened to me, but I heard it's one of the most painful things that could possibly happen to you. So the guy's literally screaming, hollering. in the back of my mind, I'm thinking, oh my God, this guy's gonna die and the deal's not gonna close. and then it gets even a little bit better. So we get her to the hospital. All these three guys are pretty wealthy, but the one guy that this appendix happened to, he didn't have American Express with Travels insurance or health insurance. So they decided, without telling me, that they ended up switching names. So one of the partners put his name on the form of the hospital rather than the guy that was hurt. And a couple minutes later, they comment, they tell me this, and I'm like, you guys are nuts, you're gonna get arrested. I'm like, that's fraud. I'm like, they're gonna figure out, they're gonna check your IDs, they're gonna figure out. So they start panicking. They ended up calling the nurse that they call like the manager, and they're like, oh, we didn't understand because it's in English. Luckily, I mean, to basically summarize, I mean, he had his appendix removed, the wife flew in, he's nice and healthy, and we talk to this day, and the closing got done. But that was probably by far one of the craziest experiences that I gone through prior to closing. The closing got done.
Okay, we've definitely heard it all. Anything to get the deal done.
Exactly.
Okay, thank you for your stories. Those were great. Okay, so being in real estate for some time now, because you all are pretty savvy already, what is the one goal that you told yourself you wanted to get out of being in real estate?
By far, financial freedom. I mean, there's a couple things. When I first started, financial freedom. I wanted to be my own boss. I wanted to make my own income. I wanted to pave my own destiny. I never wanted to wake up and be in the situation that my parents were in. Want to have real estate free and clear, not have to live debt free, and just have financial freedom to do and say, I don't want to say what I want all the time, but you know what I mean. Then it's kind of morphed. From financial freedom, I've also wanted freedom with my time. You know, be able to build a successful team, brokerage, staff, employees, which is, it's easy to do things on your own. It's harder to teach other people to do the same thing. But to be able to have freedom, you know, to live life on my terms.
Marcelo? Are you not there yet? Are you just accomplishing your goals as you go?
It's no, absolutely not. I'm not even scratching the surface yet. I think, I mean, at first, you think of little objectives. You know, I'm going to do Chairman's Club this year. I'm going to do 5 million this year. Then you want to jump to 10 million. Then you want to jump to another 5 million if possible. So trying to double the business. But then when that happens, you realize, okay, I did all this work. Now what do I do now? So now I'm starting to realize that success is more of a journey, and it's a progressive realization of a set of values and a mission you establish for yourself. For the past year or two, my obsession has been, I want to sell every penthouse I can find. I love altitude, I love high ceilings. I've been fixated on 1000 Museum, which is just right behind us. They have one leftover full floor penthouse. They're asking, I think, 18.5, 19 million. I mean, every day I think about that unit for maybe 5 minutes and, scheme ways on how I'm going to sell that unit. So that has been, in the short term, that has been what's been driven me is, finding new projects, finding new developers, listening to them, understanding their vision. I sat with Waldorf last week and I learned about the 12,000 square foot full floor plates on Cube 9, which is going to be almost 1,000 feet up in the air, and how that potentially could break the record for around 3,000 a foot if you, let's say, sell the entire floor raw, or maybe subdivide it and now you have two 6,000 square foot half floor flow through penthouses. So, I mean, for me, that's awesome. I look at that and I look at that, or I think about that, and I see, that's what I'm going to sell next. And you start learning the concepts, you get emotionally invested into the product, and then that emotion is what helps find the customer for it too. And that's the approach I took with, for example, with Flatiron, with the deals I did there. I did that same approach. I wanted to sell a house on the water. I hope I don't jinx it. I'm closing it tomorrow. So also finding new markets where just to I guess diversify and be more versatile. And then personally, I mean, I feel like if business is well taken care of, then it would be great to maybe explore development and explore the idea of being a mentor to others, maybe delegate a little bit more authority to my staff. And then that way I can maybe travel more, and maybe devote and regain some of that time that I've invested in my business for the past 9 years.
Awesome. Thank you. Joanna?
Can you repeat the question?
What goals do you have for yourself in real estate? Did they change? Did you accomplish most of them?
Yeah, so
What
definitely very similar to Wesley. I think it changes. Like in the first few years, it was like do better than last year, and you keep wanting to surpass. Like you're your own competition. So like my goal is all right. Next year I have to do more. Next year I have to do more. Now I would say in the last few years, I've gotten with my team so much joy in helping them succeed. So my goal is to help 50 agents make over 200 grand. It's like and seeing their success, I think brings so much success to you too, and happiness.
Are you looking for new agents to help?
Slowly, the right agents. So
Okay.
organic growth has been our.
Awesome. All right, Thomas. You
So-
being that you are president of the commercial division for Related ISG, that's a huge accomplishment. Do you feel like that was one of your goals, or is there other things?
Yeah, so definitely, I mean, the goals, of course, change throughout your career. I mean, initially when you get into real estate, the goal is to make money enough to live. I mean, to pay rent, to do the basic things. As you're starting to work and as you're starting to become a little bit more successful, then you become more specific. Right now, I mean, as you mentioned, I mean, we opened up the commercial division at Related ISG about a year and a half ago, a little bit under a year and a half ago, and that's been an amazing journey. I mean, it brings me a lot of joy every day, and the goal right now is to really keep growing that division. Even though we've been able to make a lot of strides in the past year and a half, we still have a long way to go until we're able to compete with the Marcus and Millichap, Cushman Wakefield, CBRE, but these are companies that were founded 30, 40 years ago. But my goal is to really grow that division into one of the true market leaders in South Florida, and I think we're definitely well on our way to accomplishing that. My long-term goal in real estate is definitely to go into development. Being that I'm in commercial real estate, I'm fortunate enough to be able to work around developers almost on a daily basis, so I really got to learn the business from the inside out and all the different aspects. And it's something that I love. I mean, I love every aspect of developing. There's also probably something egotistical that I want to be able to drive down the street and look at a building and say, I built that, that's my building. So I feel like that's something that's just amazing. But it really takes a lifetime of knowledge to go into development in the right way. I don't think I'm there today. So long term is something that I definitely see myself going into. But for the time being, definitely just to keep growing my internal business, and just to every year I really said that it has to supersede the year before, and also just keep growing this amazing company that I'm fortunate to be a part of.
Awesome. Thank you. Okay, so now coming to the end of 2021, we want to hear what your biggest takeaway was for 2021, and then where do you see your business going, or maybe even the market going for 2022? We all know that if you're in real estate, you know that this has probably been the craziest year for real estate professionals, especially for us here in South Florida, that we have an overwhelming amount of people moving here. So what can you take away from 2021 from your personal business, and where do you see your business or the market going in 2022?
So takeaway for, do you want me to go first? You're gonna call me, sorry, go ahead. Takeaway for 2021 is by far, Miami is here to stay. It's one of the new main cities in the United States. I don't want to say new, but compared to everywhere else. My biggest takeaway though, even though we're such a unique market, markets do change. So you need to be adaptable, you need to be nimble, you need to be abreast of what's going on, right? So, which leads into 2022. We look great, we look like we're in a great position. And what I plan on, what I've done differently this year and what I'm gonna take into next year is I've learned in the past year, especially with luxury, how well it's been doing, is not to say no to myself, right? So I'm going after bigger targets, bigger deals, because sometimes you doubt yourself, sometimes you're like, oh, I don't know. I've learned never, I'm gonna make other people say no to me and not say no to myself. I just got my biggest listing this year because I didn't let somebody say no to me. And I kept going, and I kept following up. And I'm gonna keep that going into next year and focus always on quality over quantity, is what I would say.
Okay, Marcelo.
Well, I mean, the year hasn't ended yet. And usually the most spectacular time of the year is the one that's about to come. I mean, I'm actually trying to see if I can take the weekend off so I can finally maybe take a quick breather, and then, because fourth quarter starts next week, and I mean, that's game time for me. Fourth quarter is always where the craziest deals happen, where we start seeing the foothold of what the next year is going to look like. But like Wesley said, I mean, we all should be very proud of ourselves, and we all should be very grateful of how resilient Miami is, how well we managed to come out from this pandemic in comparison, unfortunately, with other cities across the world. We are, you know, I mean, if you think about it, I mean, a little bit over a year ago, we were all stuck inside our rooms, and we didn't know what the outcome would be. Now we're here doing another in-live person event in this beautiful venue. Personally, it's just like Wesley said, don't say no to yourself. And, you know, right now, we, you know, like some correctly predicted, we're in a bit of a supply shock at the moment because of not enough construction starts. So finding new opportunities on the buyer side has been a challenge. There's not a lot of room to negotiate, so I've been exploring in different markets. I've been exploring, for example, places like Broward County, where there's still a lot of room for growth, and which is why I explored that waterfront market. I've been looking, especially on the buying end and towards portions of Miami Beach, especially maybe older buildings that are right now suffering from the repercussions of some auditing that's being done on their 40 years recertifications. So finding that golden 6 to 8% on the investment side is still the gold standard for me, but I've been having to be more creative, look and learn at new markets. And then on the seller side, I mean, it's a fantastic time to sell. Let's see how rates react over the next quarter or two. I mean, I'm still seeing things as low as 3.1% for non-conforming jumbo loans, which I think it's a no-brainer at that point in time. It's very affordable to borrow money. And, you know, from a price per square foot point of view, we're still much more affordable than other major markets. And, you know, it's just about finding new opportunities, finding new objectives, and just try it. Just go at it. You know, meet new developers and just push new boundaries. Try to, you know, go for bigger and for better.
Thank you. Joanna.
So my biggest takeaway for 2021 is how important brand recognition is, especially in the $1 million price range and higher. We were independent, and in January we moved to Compass, and we saw a huge difference with clients commenting that to us. What I would tell you about the market, I think it's going to continue changing and will continue adapting. Just like the travel industry got disrupted with internet, you know what? There's still a lot of travel companies that are very, very successful. And I don't think, I think, not everyone wants to pick up a call on a Friday night or show a property on a Saturday morning. So I do think there will always be someone willing to pay to outsource that service, which is what we provide. So I do think the people who will thrive are those who have the best client experience and with exceptional service.
Tomas, from the commercial aspect.
So my biggest takeaway from the year is definitely to not judge a situation too quickly. I think, in a room full of real estate agents and brokers, everybody at the beginning of the year was pretty worried of what was going to happen. For myself, when the pandemic started, I was working probably on about 8 commercial deals at a time. 6 of those had financing contingencies, and the banks literally told me no, with already commitment letters. And the first time in my career that the bank already says we're going to finance, and then said, read the fine print, in the case of the end of the world, we don't have to finance you. So that was a real shocker, and I kind of went into the year pretty negative. I didn't know what was going to happen. In general, nobody expected for the real estate industry to be doing what it's doing right now. So you have to be open-minded for situations. Sometimes things change for the better, and that's really what happened. I think Miami market right now, or South Florida in general, it's the most exciting time in the history of Florida. The world changed last year. Basically, business models, not just in the United States, globally, definitely changed. Companies ended up having to adapt. We saw migration in the United States like the Civil War. Literally since the Civil War, not that many people moved within the United States. So we ended up definitely at the top as literally number one. And we had economy that was mainly just tourism and real estate, to now being tech jobs, to now being financial firms, to now just growing on another level. And as the panelist well said, I mean, right now our price point, whether you're looking at retail or at a condo, when you compare it to New York, when you compare it to LA, when you compare it to Hong Kong, we're scratching the surface. And I mean, quality of life here is through the roof. The companies that are coming in, I mean, the financial institutions, I mean, they're some of the biggest names in the industry. And I think we're gonna see growth on another level in the coming years in all the different sectors in Florida. So we're very fortunate to be in the business that we're in and to be in the state that we're in, because it's not that same situation in all these different markets throughout the United States or throughout the world. So just very thankful for the year, and definitely keep an open mind for the future.
Absolutely, I couldn't agree more. All right, so this is a quick question, but I'm sure all of us know someone who's wanted to get a real estate license this year. Your brother, your mom, your sister, your cousin. You meet with clients during listing appointment. It's like, oh, I've met with sellers that actually have their real estate license and want to split the commission. So for the people that are just coming into the industry, the new agents that want to get licensed, what bit of information could you give them? What points could you give them? Or what direction would you give them? For, go ahead.
I'm not trying to interrupt you.
Just because, I've noticed it a lot. I mean, even on a board level, our new members' orientations are increasing significantly. But I feel like it looks good from the outside, and everybody wants a piece of it, right? But it's not as easy as just getting your license. So you being that you guys are millennials, you're newer, but you're still very savvy and have been in the industry for quite some time. What advice or information could you give to those new people who want to get licensed and get in the industry now?
Get comfortable being uncomfortable, right? The only way you grow in your life is being uncomfortable. The quicker you get through that, the faster you're going to succeed. You have to focus on having a growth mindset, learning new things every day, understanding that the beginning is the hardest part. I like to tell everybody your first year is your hardest. I remember I gave myself 3 months when I started. I'm like, if I don't sell in 3 months, I'm gonna go get a job. Sure enough, you focus, you work on it every day, prospect, you'll succeed. Follow up is key. Follow up is just as important as prospecting, right? People lose so many deals because they don't follow up. That big listing that I got, I followed up on it every week. I took the guy to lunch. I did whatever it took. That guy had an agreement already, not a listing agreement, but an agreement to list with another brokerage, a big name brokerage. And I kept on, and I kept on. He told me no one time that he's gonna list with them. I still followed up, and I was able to convince him to sign with me. So that's where the don't say no to yourself comes from. Let others say no to you. I think it's the getting over the fear. People don't prospect and people don't follow up because of the fear of the no. Get used to that, because the quicker you get past that, the more successful you'll be. Mindset is key, and learning something new every day. I still learn every day.
Awesome. Marcelo, any tips? Do you want to skip this one?
No, I'm just trying to think carefully because this is important. No, I mean, yes, that too, but this is that too. But I would say patience and play the long game. Play the long game. I mean, I've been in this business for 9.5 years now, almost 10, and I would say that the first 4 to 5 years of being in this business, I devoted it to just honing my craft. I wasn't focused on getting the deals. I was focusing on honing my craft, knowing the contracts, knowing how to speak, knowing knowing how to make eye contact, knowing my market, knowing the buildings, choosing, and it's funny because it coincided with me being in my 20s and transitioning into, adulthood. So it was happening right at the same time when I was also trying to figure out who I was as a person and what my values were. I see a lot of agents make the mistake of maybe devastating themselves or quitting too soon when they should be saying to themselves, let me focus on honing my craft, my time will come. So be very patient. Don't think about the deal that's in front of you, think about the deal that's years ahead of you. And just focus on building your reputation, building your practice, your client base. And I'm a firm believer that most realtors actually don't reach their peak until they've been in 4 or 5 different cycles. Because at that point, you've already seen so many different cycles and trends that you can already have a close predictor of what the next 3 to 6 months might look like, which are the hardest ones for any professional to determine. That takes roughly 25 to 30 years. So we're talking about a very long lifespan where you really should just focus on improvement, and then, as I said, your time will come. Don't, somebody else closes another deal, whatever. You're on your own path. And this is speaking from experience because I would have a lot of resentment. I would think, listen, I've been working for so long, what the hell? Is there something wrong with my face? Why am I not closing these deals? And it wasn't the case. I just wasn't prepared. I wasn't prepared, and I still might not be prepared if, let's say, it's a property that's not in my market. But if it's your market and you take the right time, you will be ready, and the door's going to come knocking, and you're going to close that deal.
Thank you.
I would tell them, do it full time, jump in. You are in a solution-driven business. Your job is to find solutions, so have that mindset of I'm gonna get this done, how can I solve the problem? I think professionally persistent, like she shared that story. You are in the lead generating business. You constantly have to be getting leads as well. You're also in a client relationship business, so you need to make sure not only with your clients, but also with your spheres. You don't want to go and tell him something and now I have him sitting next to me. So be very, I would tell you from the get-go, start building that sphere with your clients of that relationship, and also with your own agents and people around you. What other advice? Constantly learning. You're learning every single day. Adapting to change. I shared earlier, emotional, learn how to control your emotions very soon, very quick. The better you can get at handling those emotions, the easier this business gets. It does get easier with time because you've already built that, what we talked about, that sphere that gives you that repeat and that referral. But you still need to constantly be getting new business because your sphere might not have that higher price range that you want to get into. So I think that's a good amount of tips.
And for commercial, since we've already heard.
Well, in general, I think in order to succeed, there's really one key thing, and it's consistency. I noticed so many agents that get into the business that if they were working for a law firm or an accounting firm, you don't have the option to show up at the office at 12 o'clock, or because you say, Monday I worked really hard, so Tuesday I don't have to work. And when you're working for yourself, this profession, you're typically not going to have a boss that's going to call you and say, why didn't you come to the office? Or why didn't you wake up at 8 o'clock and start working at 9 o'clock? And people are just simply not consistent, and that's with anything in life that you don't dedicate over and over and you're determined and you just keep working on, it's going to be very difficult to succeed. So if every single day you're going through your routine and you're working, and regardless if you had a great Monday and Tuesday, Wednesday you still have to work, and Thursday you still have to work, and Friday you still have to work. And even when you close a deal, one of the things that happened to me at the beginning, when I closed a deal and I saw a nice check in my bank account, what do? Go to the beach and relax. And right now it's the opposite. So right now if I close a deal, yeah, I'm happy. I might go out and get a drink. You gotta celebrate your successes. But that's not the time for you to get complacent and for you to get relaxed. It's the time to get more motivated and keep working and just keep grinding. And there's no easy way to success. The only time that I see really agents complaining that they're not earning, that they're not making money, it's agents that I know are not putting in the work. So I tell them, and people hate when you tell them sometimes the truth and you tell them the reality of the situations, unless they get offended, or other people realize, okay, let me put in the work and let me put in the hours. Monday through Friday, or like some of these people, Monday through Sunday, and you're gonna succeed in the long run, whether it takes a year or 3 years. This business is a difficult industry, it's a cutthroat industry. Getting your license means nothing. You gotta put in the work, and that's the only way that you're gonna succeed.
Amazing. Okay, really quick, just a one-word answer because I'm dying to. I personally want to know this. If you could be anything other than a real estate professional, what would that be? Really quick.
I would work at a zoo.
I believe that.
Musician.
A musician? What? Singer?
I don't know.
Instrument?
I don't know. But
Reggaeton artist? Because I can see that.
I like, you know what, being here on stage, I like it. It'd be nice to explore that.
Okay.
Whatever it is,
Joanna.
just be on stage.
I'd be like on the travel channel, traveling everywhere.
Oh my god, like an influencer, like a travel blogger? I would too.
Probably a professional golfer, but I got a long way to go with my swing right now.
We're rooting for you. We'll see you at the next championship.
I think Mr. Studnick would say that. I still got a long way to go.
Thank you so much. Okay, let's give a huge hand clap for Millennials. Thank you guys for sharing. We are so happy to have you. And Marcelo, you're going to stay on stage. So all of the rest of the Millennials, you can exit. And Marcelo, we're going to give you an opportunity to introduce Supreme Title. Okay?
So our next sponsor is Supreme Title and Escrow. I've been in this business since 2012. I have actually known Supreme and have done business with Supreme pretty much since 2013. They have been my go-to for Gio has been my go-to for years. He allows me to have better quality sleep at night, and because it's very important to know that there are people out there doing your transactions that know and can control the aspects that are beyond your control. For title purposes, I feel like Supreme is one of them, so I'm very happy to be able to
Do I even need this? I don't know. Good afternoon, good morning, everybody. For those who don't know me, my name is Giovanni Nicosia. I've been a real estate attorney in South Florida now for 24 years. My main office is located in Fort Lauderdale. We're like basically, I think centrally located. We're near 595 and 995. If you've ever been to my office, I personally think it's probably the nicest title company office, I would say, around. Stop by if you're ever in the area, check it out. It's really an amazing office. Basically, of course, we do regular closings, we do seller representation, we do foreclosure defense, we do short sale. I really personally don't expect a crash or anything like that, but if it ever was to happen, we're prepared for that. I've actually closed well over 2,000 short sales. Actually closed, forget about what we've negotiated. I teach the contract class for the board. I'm one of the teachers. The class I do is for 3 credits. If, as you guys might be aware, the contract, there are some changes coming up to the contract, so be ready for that. But if you ever see me teaching the class, definitely sign up for it. My class is, regardless of how experienced you are, it's a great class. It's not like a fill-in-the-blank kind of class. It's basically I go through the contract, get tips to avoid, so you have smooth closings, to avoid fights, to avoid you getting in trouble, your clients getting in trouble. So definitely if you see me on the calendar, take the class. What else? On Facebook, if you guys are on Facebook, I have a group, it's called Ask the Real Estate Attorney. So if you just do a search, put in the word Ask the Real Estate Attorney, it'll pop up. Basically, like realtors will post questions, and I usually respond right away. Even if you don't want to post, of course, you can always contact me directly, but even just seeing what other realtors are going through. Like sometimes people post questions that shock me too, I have to look into it to find an answer. So it's like a good way of learning. On Instagram, it's called Supreme Closing. Follow us, I'll follow you back. And that's about it. All right, thank you guys.
Thank you so much, Supreme. All right, our next sponsor is very important to many of us who need support and systems and admins in the real estate industry. So I'm going to bring Michelle from Hometown Transaction Coordinators. Michelle, please tell us how you make realtors' life easier.
Good morning, everyone. Michelle here from Hometown TCs. We're here to help you with your growth, whether you're new or experienced. Many hands make light work. So you want to be out on the road You want to be out there selling more homes, selling property or commercial property as we heard today. But you need someone in the back of the house supporting you, looking at that contract, making sure the calendar is set so that you know you don't miss a beat. You know when escrow is due, when inspections are not gonna cancel out on you, or when loan approval is due. We're here for you. We're your second set of eyes and hands to tell you, hey, it's coming up. We may need to negotiate something. That's you. You're still the star, but we're here to support you. So we do a lot of things for our community. We offer listing management, contract to close, administrative assistant, and also train your staff. We are experienced. We've been in the industry, real estate, in support since '95. So we are here to help you in your growth so that you are able to do what you do best. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Michelle. All right, so now it's getting really exciting because we're gonna bring down our legends. And this is a packed panel. I saw some of these legends, read their bios, I know some of them, I follow some of them for some time, and it's an honor to have them on stage sharing with us everything that they have because they are a wealth of knowledge and information. So I'm gonna call you guys down and read your bio, so as I call you, make your way to the front. And we're gonna start off with the beautiful Adriana Vargas Hernandez. So, out of beautiful Puerto Rico, my country as well, Adriana has been a longtime leader in Miami's luxury real estate community. She brings more than 20 years of experience in real estate development, and she's also marketed and sold billions of dollars in luxury real estate across the US. Her global alliances span from Hong Kong to Brazil, and her extensive global knowledge of high-end real estate trends and buyers make her an asset to the estates at Aqualina. Let's please welcome Adriana Vargas Hernandez. Up next, we have Bill Hernandez, who is the Executive Director of Luxury Sales for Douglas Elliman. I mean, come on, let's give him a hand clap for that. Clearly, he has cultivated a unique niche, marketing and servicing buyers and sellers in Miami's 20 most prestigious waterfront developments. Welcome, Bill Hernandez. All right, Judy Zeder. Judy, please make your way down. A Miami resident since 1978, Judy has been a realtor for over 20 years. She holds her license with Coldwell Banker and is consistently ranking in the top 3 groups of Miami-Dade and in the top 0.5% of production nationally. I mean, that is amazing. Her skills, experience, dedication, and vision combined with the highest ethical standards have produced consistent, great results for her clients year after year. And let's welcome Judy. Last but not least, Jorge Uribe. He has been the Senior Vice President of One Sotheby's. I mean, we all know these names, guys. Like, this is luxury at its finest. International real estate since 2004. His hard work has led to $1.5 billion in sales during his career. He has been the top producer for One Sotheby's International Realty since 2005. George has an MBA from Thunderbird School of Global Management and serves as chairman of the SSJ Health Foundation. In his spare time, he enjoys boating, skiing, and traveling with his family. The real question is, can he still shalom? Please welcome George to the stage. I'm just like honored to be in your presence because I know a lot of you even though you don't know me. And I've actually had the honor, I'm not there yet, but I'm coming for you, so look out for me. You know? But I've had the honor of being in the sales center with Adriana, and I mean, with a client that it was my first time showing him, and this woman had some serious follow-up. I mean, if I had the money, I would have bought the unit. But she's still following up with him to this day, so this deal might actually close because of her. But I'm gonna go ahead and ask you guys all the question that I've asked everybody, is how long you've been in the industry, and let's say, how did you get your big break into luxury and to be who you are today? Well, we can start with you. There's your microphone.
Hi, everyone. First of all, my mom would want me to call my Jorge, not George. No, I'm kidding. I'm ambidextrous. Honestly, real estate for me was purely by accident. Getting into real estate, I was following a corporate career for many years as an accountant. Lived in Chile for 5 years, running a big multinational over there. And then life just has it, and I was at some barbecue, and I ended up, my big break was actually being, I won't say recruited is the word, but I know Nelson worked with Carlos Justo, so this Carlos Justo guy now he's not really relevant in the market, but for people that go back 10 years, this guy was like, I guess one of the big pioneers in luxury real estate in Miami, before Miami was really known for luxury, so he was on Star Island. And my big break was really, to get into real estate, I skipped the whole part of, having to sell a condo to your cousin and having to, start with 300,000, 200,000. I went straight from no real estate to Gables Estate, Star Island, Indian Creek. Yeah, so it was pretty cool. That was my big break. Getting lucky to have someone to mentor you. And ultimately, being humble about it, because for 2 years, I was basically his driver, getting his dry cleaning. I mean, it wasn't like, even though I came from, I don't say an illustrious corporate career, but it wasn't, just who cared? I mean, I just wanted to learn, so I just wanted to be that sponge and just be around them. Maybe there was a lot of bad habits and good habits. Hopefully I picked up mostly just the good ones.
I think you have, it shows. Okay, Judy, please. Share with us how long you've been in the industry and how did you get your big break into what you're doing today?
So first of all, thank you for having me. I really appreciate it, and welcome everybody, and thank you for being here. I don't really think there was anything that was called a major big break. I think there were a lot of little things that launched me into my career. I started about 28 years ago, and I was really very, very involved with my family and in many philanthropic organizations in Miami, some of which I'm still involved with. And I knew a lot about Miami. I was doing a lot of charity events. I was president of a number of organizations. I was running major fundraisers in the city, and I kept hearing people saying, you'd be great in real estate, you'd be great in real estate, why don't you go into it? You know about so much about the city, you're always hooking people together, you're always putting them in different places. And one day I thought, this is great. I finished a huge fundraiser, and I got called the next day to ask if I would do a different one. And I was like, you know what? I will still give back to this community, but I'd like to do something for myself and my family. And I went into real estate because of my background, because of the commitment I had made to so many people in the city. I had a reputation of doing things, being very OCD. I'm a complete control freak. I'm very, very driven, and I had that reputation, and it preceded me in real estate. And I think I was very blessed to have people who believed in me early on, and staying focused and always concentrating on two things, and that is just being ethical and moral and staying focused.
Awesome, thank you. Bill, how long have you been in real estate? And how did you get your big break?
So I'm part of the Bill and Brian team, so I have a business partner, Brian Sari. He actually recruited me to go into real estate. I was a management consultant out of New York, doing 3 or 4 flights a week, living on West Avenue in South Beach. And we had those condos that had a shared walkway, this kind of old school building. And he saw me coming back and forth in a little computer bag. And then one day he said, this is in the end of 03, 04, hey, can you build a website? You look like you're a smart guy. You're not partying on the weekends, who are you? Introduced myself. And then I said, look, I can do that. I have no interest in real estate at all. I told him my Korean mother thinks a realtor is probably below a fast food worker. Just so you know, education was held high in my family. So he convinced me to do it, and I was like, back then, real estate or realtors, didn't have this high reputation. I wasn't from South Florida, because I came from Atlanta. I went to Georgia Tech. And then Brian slowly started convincing me. We joined up to work for a guy named Lyle Sharif Realty Group, a huge commercial broker that helped create the design district with Craig Robbins, if you don't know his name. So we started, we formed kind of boutique residential team out of there, and then I still wouldn't get my license. I was the chief technology officer of that firm, and then Brian started coming in back and forth with these big commission checks every week, and I didn't understand it. And then I got my real estate license, and then that was when, you guys know, I don't know how long you've been in business, because I'm on my 18th year, but before it was called Edgewater, it was called Biscayne Corridor, for those who remember. And there was a lot of new construction buildings that aren't built, ICE 1, ICE 2, which are now, Biscayne Beach, etc. So Brian and I had formed a website, and we started selling 10, 15, 20 units. Jeff Moore, who's the owner of Majestic Properties, who then sold it to our company, Douglas Elliman, he would get us in early. We started selling just big bulks of unit. We sold 30 units at Paramount Bay, 25 units, and I couldn't believe it. I didn't know what was happening. Big commissions were coming in. I was very new to the business. And that's kind of all she wrote, and I've been here since.
Awesome. Adriana, how did you get into the real estate business, and what can you say was your big break?
Well, thank you for having me today. It's really a pleasure to serve all of you. I came to this country at the age of 16. I come from a very humble family. My father made $13,000 a year as a teacher in Puerto Rico. I am one of 4. So at 16 years old, I came and I had the blessing that a law firm, John Schmidt, the brother-in-law of Jeb Bush, they were all lawyers. They gave me the opportunity to work in their law firm. I thought I was going to be a lawyer. And while I went to college, psychology, accounting, paralegal, nothing to do with real estate, but the law firm was about real estate. I was 5 years into that, and someone came to the office, a client. And there, everybody, think about it, when you work for 5 years in a law firm, you know every client, correct? And one of the clients said, you know what, I know you for so long and you have this personality. Why don't you accept an opportunity? I am hiring for a project called Gramercy Park. And in sales, real estate, I don't know anything, but of course I worked in a real estate law firm for 5 years. I had a paralegal career already, but sales, I was really terrified. And my lawyers, my bosses said, you know what, this is an incredible opportunity for you. Go, and if you don't like it, you can come back. By the way, they're still my friends until today. And I literally was terrified. I was 22 years old, but I was a dreamer. I was the type of person that since I was a little girl, I knew I was born to serve, and it had to be fun. And when I was at that law library, it was so boring. So I said, you know what, I'm gonna give it a chance, and I did. And in my first job, I can tell you that, oh my God, it was so difficult. I had no idea of what I was doing, but I don't think I got a big break in real estate. I just thought that I had a lot of little opportunities, a lot of little windows that opened along the way. And I believe on that, when people say it is not the same to have an opportunity and not being ready than being ready when you have an opportunity. And I did prepare myself all my life. When everybody was having fun and partying, I was studying, okay? So I do encourage you that if you're starting in this business, prepare yourself, learn as much as you can about people, read as much as you can, because remember, this business is about people, not about concrete. And if you really want to know how I ended up at Aqualina, you're gonna laugh, because by the time I got to Aqualina, I had already surpassed $2 billion in sales in this business. So I didn't get there to make to that $2 billion in sales. No, I was finishing Privé Island Estates, and believe it or not, I got a message on my Facebook, and it says, are you interested in an opportunity? And I learned a long time ago, when I had the pleasure to work for Howard Lorber at Douglas Elliman, that you never say no to what you don't know, okay? So I replied, in 2 weeks, I am available for lunch on Friday. So I said to myself, if that is for me, they're gonna wait. If they can hire someone, that was not for me. 2 weeks passed, that Friday came, and I went to meet Michael Goldstein, the president of Aqualina. And my God, they showed me what we were supposed to set up. The boutique tower, the most luxurious tower in the entire state of Florida, which actually it will be finalized in next year, and we only have 3 units left. And I said, I have to do this. And I had said at Privé, this is my last project. Well, I said, I'm doing this, and I'm so honored to be able to say that I serve, my God, my developers are just extraordinary. But again, just little opportunities along the way. I didn't have just a big break.
Awesome, thank you. Okay, so I know we heard in the last panel that the real estate industry is all about cycles. And there's a reason why you guys are here on the Legends panel, and we've been doing real estate for so long. So what I want to know from you is, what cycle had the biggest impact in your life, if you can remember and describe that for us? Whether it was a negative impact, or whether it was a positive impact. Jorge? Judy, would you like to go first?
Okay, so I think there's been a lot of different cycles, but the two that probably have impacted the most was during the Great Recession. That was really a period of time where things just stopped. I mean, and to make a deal happen, it was so difficult and so much work, and there was foreclosures everywhere throughout the city. We ended up being very involved in the foreclosure industry. And I found it to be extremely difficult for a lot of reasons. Number one, I mean, the financial world was falling apart. Two, many of those homes that were being foreclosed on were people that you knew. And it was difficult. I mean, you saw their lives changing, you saw that they had lost everything. There was a lot of anger. We would go into homes, people had removed the toilets, they had filled the holes with cement, they had cracked all the impact windows, they had removed the closets, the doors, they had destroyed them, there was human waste on walls. I mean, the things that you saw and the level of despair during that time was unbelievable. And so you had to get up every morning and you realized that you had to do these foreclosures, you had to analyze these properties, you had to go into them, you had to make these calls. It was hard to make $1, it was hard to make any money at all. I mean, we did well, but it was challenging. At the time, I work with, as you all know, I not only work with Partners on the Beach, the Jills, who are fantastic, and their team, but I was working with my son and daughter who just came into the industry. They were trying to make a living, and they were learning how hard it was to really do anything. And they were on the streets. I mean, we were doing, if somebody called you for a $500 a month rental, I mean, you did it. You did whatever you needed to do to make sure that you were successful. And we went through that, but it was a huge learning experience, not only for ourselves, but the character of a lot of individuals. I mean, sometimes you find yourself thinking you know people really well. And I think one of the hardest times for me in that period was this huge and sorrowful disappointment in a lot of humanity and what people do when they're desperate, and to realize that that's not everybody, it's just a desperate situation, and that people come out of it. So that was one really big learning experience for me. The second one is this go-round. It's very challenging when cash is easy. And it's, I think, as hard of a time as it was during the Great Recession. Because in this period of time, you have to remember that everything is about long-term relationships and short-term goals. And if your attitude is just to get a deal done, to close it fast, and to move forward, life changes and life changes on a dime. So you have to look at every single closing the same way you did when it wasn't easy. You have to protect your client, whether it is the buyer or the seller. You need to protect them. You need to know that if you do the wrong thing, if you don't cross your I, if you don't cross your T, if you don't look at those 4 corners of a contract, if you sell them something because you know, you need to buy a car, you need to buy a piece of jewelry, or you want the next latest bag, you're in the wrong business. You need to stop, you need to think, you need to understand where the market is, you need to understand that this person will remember everything you did in that transaction, every time you didn't answer their phone, every mistake you made. They will remember it, and they will tell everybody that they meet what happened in that transaction. The single greatest financial decision a lot of people make is their home. You are taking, or not financial advisors, we are real estate agents, and you need to protect them. And I think, you know, fortunately we work on a nice, you know, our partners, we talk every week. We meet once a week, sometimes twice a week. We discuss the market, we discuss every problem we're having, we discuss the issues that we're having, finding homes, finding things that are off market, trying to sell something, making decisions, talking to people and saying, you know, my client wants to buy this house, it's $3 million overpriced, it's $1 million overpriced. What about if it's just $10,000 overpriced? How do you guide your client through that period of time to make sure that the decision that they're making is not going to come back to haunt you? So I think you have two opposite poles. One, the Great Recession. One, a market is moving way too quickly. A lot of people are getting licensed. They don't understand the long-term relationships with these people. They just want to make a deal and want to make it happen fast. And we are dealing with a lot of agents who don't understand long-term relationships. So I think my point to everybody and my thing is, if you're in this and you're in it for a long time, remember that. Long-term relationships, it's not short-term goals.
Yeah, thank you.
I'll be brief, but for me, obviously the Great Recession, if you want to call it that, was an impactful moment. But it was a great lesson for me because, not to get into a long story, but I got into real estate, I managed to get into real estate because of the fact that my wife worked in corporate. So my wife had a great job, had a great salary. Because the reality is that real estate, for the first 2-3 years, is very difficult to actually make a living to pay for your mortgage, for your kids, etc. So my wife was working. When I was first starting with Carlos Justo, not making that much money. Towards the end of my relationship with Carlos Justo, this was right before the Great Recession, I started making some pretty good money. My wife was in a situation that I said, honey, quit your job, I got this. So then she goes and quits her job like 2 months before the Great Recession hit, basically. And so here we were like, oh my God. So now we're both basically at that point unemployed. But luckily, and this is where a little bit of my advice to you guys as a legend, if you want. But ultimately, for me, what's been, I could have easily lost myself because I started making some really good money, and money sometimes is intoxicating, and you can't forget the fact that we're always in a very cyclical business. So really where I'm going with that story is you have to have a sound house. You have to be in a situation, and the millennials actually, I was impressed they touched about that. You need to be in a situation that you're not in debt. You need to be in a situation that if you have that big paycheck, you know, $250,000, $500,000, that you don't go out and buy yourself a Ferrari or let the lifestyle get to you. You know, ultimately your clients are very successful, and I'm talking mostly when you start working the high end. Don't think you're somehow, this thing continues forever. So ultimately the only way you can truly be a servant, because ultimately I serve my clients, I'm an advisor. The only way you can truly advise your clients is if your house is sound. If you have no debt, if you're not desperate. Most of my relationships with my clients, the big deals that I've done is because they trust me, and you don't smell what I call the commission breath. You don't have that because you're sound. It starts off, if you are somehow in a situation that you have car payments, boat payments, house payments, obviously you have, I've known people that have $30,000, $40,000 a month obligations that they shouldn't have. Because this is all lifestyle decision that you take. Stay humble, pay off your house. It's a lesson that you guys should do because you'll have some great years. When you have those great years, pay off debt, put money aside. It's hugely important. And really the Great Recession for me was a little bit of a wake-up call because I had always had good income. My wife was killing it, and then it was a situation to kind of like, we were young, we were just like, holy shit. And then luckily we had always been somewhat normal, but it really it brought it home, and it was basically what we say, it was arroz and lentejas 5 days a week, basically. You know, like that's basically what we did. So that was really my advice, is stay humble in that sense, because if you want to get into the high-end real estate market, you know, the 20 million, 30 million, 40 million, if these guys ever smell that you're somehow after the commission, these guys are especially sensitive to that. So that would be my advice.
I think it's really important. I always say for new agents, I said it to my team, I'm like, check, how can you tell someone to make the biggest financial decision of your life when your own finances aren't in order? And I always say that. You know, how can you really guide them?
We're in this big peak right now. One of the things that Judy says, you learn more in a down market, and you really have to work very hard and hustle. Right now, what's happening is you get a single family home listing, or you get a good bay-facing condo, it's going to sell in 30 days, it's priced right. So now as a realtor, you're thinking, this job is very easy. So you start feeling very empowered that I can do this, as Jorge was saying, not save money, go party, do whatever, and not be financially responsible. I would say the things that Brian and I have learned the most was the crash in 2008. I don't know if you guys remember, Countrywide Loans was giving away, you could, you know, be a busboy or server, and I've had all these jobs in college, so I'm humble over here, and you could buy a condo at One Miami for $500K. You needed no income, and that's why the founder of Countrywide is in jail right now. A lot of the irresponsibilities of the banks back then. But I remember that happened. My first was born. You know, I had like one commission in a big deal at Continuum. And then as Judy said, you have to really sit and think, is this job for me? You know, I was a young guy with a wife, and you know, I just had my first son. It's like, what are you gonna do? Well, you know what I did? Brian and I started, you know, our team started doing rentals. There's nothing that you shouldn't do to be better educated, to be a better broker, to start working harder. Now, I clearly remember, because Jorge and I have sat on a board for over 10 years, a group of master brokers and condo experts that was founded by, he was actually one of my mentors, and Jeannie DeCastri, and you remember Jeannie. Yeah. She was a big mentor of mine. She founded the master brokers. We would meet once a month, and I remember when the market crashed and financial, no New Yorker would even pick up the phone and buy. So that happened at the end of 2008, and then everything was frozen. For teams like us, you know, we have outbound, a lot of money goes outbound into employees and marketing. So you're writing these big checks and you're seeing money go out and you're seeing no money come in. It's kind of frightening, especially if you have family, if you have a mortgage, you have kids. Judy mentioned, you know, she was selling in the profession with her son. It's very scary. And I remember that happened. And then if you stuck to it, because a lot of these realtors weren't realtors anymore, I remember they all just stopped. Then every person started buying that summer. Then it became the greatest kind of boom. Prices were significantly down, and that's why we had such a good rebound market in 09, 2010, going to 11. Jorge, as I mentioned, we sat on this board. I remember another downfall. You know, the market was up. This is when, if a Russian or Brazilian would ever show up to one of your listings, you would be so excited. It's like, you're selling at full ass, Apogee. Man, I had a Brazilian. It's happening. Russian, it's happening. I don't know if you guys remember that. You didn't have to negotiate much. They just wanted to get money out of the country. Fast forward 2 years after that peak, what had happened? US put regulations. Then we were joking around with my business partner Brian and with Jorge, and I said at this other board meeting, I said, you know, what would happen if the New Yorkers stopped buying at the exact same time that South Americans, if the currency, and that would happen, that happened. And then we hit another bust. Miami is the only real estate market that is so big in cycles. So I don't know if you remember that. Then the currency exchange, then Brazil was out, Russia was out, and our New Yorkers were out. And that was a very, very difficult market. So what do? You have to dig deep again, reprice it. What Judy said, you have to sit with your sellers and explain what are the right moves, how do you sell units. I remember 2 veterans at Continuum were going for $1 million. those same units that are not even built out today sell for 3.5. We're in a much, much different market. And then one thing to add on about, quick thing about a big real estate break that we had, treat every client that you have as your biggest client. We had an internet rental lead for a continuum many years ago when the market wasn't good. Probably she came around 2006-07. That's now an anchor client of ours. We transacted $95 million in business just with this one family. They bought and owned in every big building, including some very big homes, and they're still with us. So that was just a, hey, can you find me a rental just for a summer? So if you treat every client like it's your biggest, I think you'll be all right.
Amazing. Adriana, being that you specialize in pre-construction and condos, right? Like, what cycle has affected you the most?
I do believe that we all learn the most from the most difficult times. And during the last financial crisis, I was a director for the related group at 50 Biscayne, Love 1, Love 2. It was really, oh my God. It was terrifying. It was terrifying because in every meeting, I remember sitting, the related conference room is like that size, and we would sit on those meetings and, oh my God, we're losing this building, or this building, or this building. And when you are a single mother like me, with 2 boys, no child support or right to alimony, let me tell you, you own your successes and your failures. And when you have a team, it's not only about you, but also your team. I know what it is to be with people from that belong to the team, and just cry with them because they were so afraid and everybody was losing everything. I tell you that I am so blessed that I was able to live those moments and be right there, because I don't take anything for granted. I tell you that stay humble, because in this business, I just say today, and I always say it, I just don't know that I don't know anything. When you say or believe that you know it all, is when you have a problem. And I tell you that I would invest everything in real estate. Every project I worked, I buy a condominium, and a condominium, and a condominium. Guess what? When that happened, all my condos were half the price, a third. All my tenants, they were not paying the rent because they were losing their jobs, and I really didn't have the heart to evict them. I didn't evict a single one of them. So I remember saying the banks, like literally I had savings, and for like a year and a half, I said I would pay everything. And it got to the point that I said, you know what? Foreclose, I don't care. Foreclose, I don't care. Foreclose, I don't care. The cars, take the Maserati, I literally said to myself, the only thing that I am not going to compromise on is on the education of my 2 boys. And I literally lost pretty much everything. But I did not take my sons out of the school. My son graduated last year from the University of Miami, Business Law and Criminology. Of course, he has 3 years now, his real estate license. He's my best partner, my best friend, and Pierre right there. And I am so blessed that I learned from that experience. After that, I remember that I was so happy that we worked so hard, 7 days a week, 12 hours a day. I did not lose my building, 50 Biscayne. I was so proud to say that we didn't lose my building. Love 1, Love 2, and 50 Biscayne, we finished them, and we didn't lose it to the bank. But that moment, when you go from thinking that, oh my God, I have over $1 billion in sales, I have all of these properties, and all of this money in the bank, and you wake up one day and you know that you don't have anything, that the developer that owes you $1 million, you know what, he's going bankrupt and he's not going to pay you that either. But you know what, when you know your job, when you know your career, when you know your work ethics, I said to myself, if I did this once, I can do this all over again. And I remember in 2011, pretty much we had no more condominiums in downtown Miami. Everything was already sold. And remember that before the cycle, we would sell pre-construction with 10 or 15, 20% maximum, correct? Guess what? In 2011, we had no more condominiums to sell from the financial crisis, and we had no more work. So guess what? No bank would give any construction loans for any new projects. And we released the first project on pre-construction on 2011 called Brickle House. And I remember going to brokers and clients for all my prior projects and say, we're gonna sell this project on pre-construction. And you know what? Many said, you are, kid, I'm not gonna say the word, I don't wanna know anything about pre-construction. And I said, I'm gonna do this with you or without you. And I remember that out of the 350 units at Brickle House, I sold 110 of them, collected 70% deposits because nobody was gonna give us that pre-construction, and no sales office. So I remember going to the Conrad Hotel, the Atrio restaurant, and I would say, you see that piece of land? I am going to do this with the developers. Do you believe in it? And I got 110 contracts, and out of 10 people on the team, I was the one that sold a third of the project. You know why? Because I was the most terrified, because I knew I needed to educate my boys, and it was all about me, myself, and I, nobody else to help me. So that really taught me, my God, it taught me so many things. Just stay humble.
Wow. All of your stories are so amazing, and they're so different from the millennials. Both are great, but it's so nice to hear, you know, the future of like what we have to look forward to. A lot of what you said is even leading into the next question that I'm gonna ask, because as you all know, when you get into real estate, there's no 401k, there's no social security, no one's giving you insurance or healthcare or anything like that. So more importantly, I want to hear from you guys, like, what is your retirement plan? What did you think about that going in? Did that come after you started making money? Because I think that's a huge question for some of us who maybe get into real estate a little later in life, or even from the beginning. I feel like even when I'm producing, I'm living paycheck to paycheck. But what am I gonna do to not have to be able to survive and retire and not have to be showing a home and selling a home every time to do that?
Well, I mean, the only thing I would say about this profession, which is, I think, pretty awesome, is that if you're good at it and you keep working at it, there really is no need for retiring, I would say, per se, because it's not like a corporate job that somehow, I mean, you can somehow reinvent yourself in your golden years if you want to just do fewer transactions, but ultimately it's a fun job. So I don't think retirement, I'm not sure I'd ever like check out and hang my boots and walk away. But you do definitely have to.
I was waiting for Jorge to retire.
Yeah, but definitely.
Maybe someone you retires.
But definitely after 20 years, you do get tired of it's always like, you know, you gotta kill to eat. I mean, it does kind of wear you out. For me personally, what I've done in the last 3 or 4 years, I started buying multifamily homes. So I've been focused mostly on the stuff that's underlooked, 4 units, 8 units, workforce housing. I haven't invested in, you know, luxury towers. I'd rather just be, you know, the Villa Havana area. I'm Hispanic. You know, for me it's worked, and it's a beautiful situation now. Actually, if you can find something that at least gives you, let's say, 150% of your monthly obligations are coming in, you know, in a sense of, you know, it's basically passive income, which is fantastic. You can depreciate it. I mean, it really is something that I've been working on. And we're in real estate. It works because we're flexible, because you can actually go during the day 3 times, 4 times a week, go buy your units. If you're corporate, if you're a doctor, lawyer, whatever, sometimes you get, you know, you lose your ass sometimes in multifamily because you just don't have the time, and you get taken advantage of, etc. So that's been my retirement plan per se, is investing in multifamily workforce housing, if you want to call it that.
Awesome. Judy?
So I really don't have any plans to retire.
It's going anywhere.
I love my job, and I'm enormously blessed to work with 2 of my extremely close friends, and then a second generation that is family, and really I work with family and friends, right? So I don't have any desire to retire. Every day I wake up, I love my job. Any day that it's a little bit slow, I sort of drive everybody in the family crazy because it means I'm usually tearing the entire house apart or somebody else's house apart. So no intention of retiring, but I will say my advice for anybody who's going into this field is regardless of how much you make, whether you're a new agent or you've been in the business for however many years, I think the most important thing is to talk to a financial advisor that you really trust. And that in every single paycheck that you get, regardless of it, if it's a rental and you get a check for $1,000 or $2,000, because rentals, there's nothing you're gonna work harder at, nothing you're gonna learn more from, but you take a percentage of that and you put part of it away for your taxes and part of it away for savings. And if you do that, you're going to find that, and it needs to be something that you don't look at. You don't even know it's there. So your check that you're getting is a check after taxes, after whatever that investment you decide to do. And if you do that, it's sort of money that you're just putting away that you don't even know it's there, and the rest needs to be for what you live on. And you need to really be aware, again, in this industry, that things can turn on a dime very, very quickly. And even though you've just received this big paycheck, and even though you think that this is going to go on forever, and even though, you know, we sold over $1 billion worth of real estate last year, we're on track again this year to have a great year. I know the cycles of this market. I've been there long enough to know that things can change. So the best advice I can give you is to make sure that you don't overspend. Make sure that you are very aware that you don't have the IRS coming after you, or you don't have money put aside for your children and your life. I mean, that's my advice. I think you need to really always be aware and to have somebody who you can trust that can give you good advice.
Thank you. Bill?
So I have 2 kids in school right now, so I'm nowhere near thinking about retirement. I'm thinking about tuition for many, many years to come. I think one of the things that Judy says is important. So Brian and I, you know, we've sold about $300 million this year, and we're having a very, very big year for our team. But with that, you know, we have a lot more costs, right? Advertising, marketing, everything goes up. So you just have to be very cognizant and pay attention to saving and always thinking about if you go 6 months without selling a deal or doing a rental, what's going to pay for kind of keeping the ship moving. I think for all of us here, the pandemic was a big learning experience. I remember when the pandemic had happened, and it was March. I don't know about you guys, but you know, whatever news channel you were watching, you didn't want to go outside. Like, do I breathe air? I'm going to die. I just clearly remember that happening, and then we started getting these condo notices, cannot show apogee, cannot show, because the managers know us. So we started getting these emails, and what do? Now you have to tell the owner, you know, you've been overpriced, or you know, the listing was very hot and now you can't show it. I think that was the biggest learning experience, a wake-up call for everyone, especially people in real estate, because then you had to really look at your bank accounts, really look at your savings, and say, is this a career I'm going to go through? No one here, including anyone here, knew that the pandemic would cause South Florida real estate to be the #1 real estate market in the United States of America. When I say #1, our company, you know, in Howard Lorber, when we shared our Douglas Elliman numbers, it was the first time where we exceeded New York and California. Why? Because the big Californians, one of Judy's clients, they're all coming here to Miami. No one could have anticipated that. No one knew that people started paying attention to being in a state like Florida, where the seating and outdoor dining is outdoors, not indoors. This is the greatest amount of wealth we've ever seen coming to South Florida. I think we have a big responsibility to protect our clients that are coming here. I think our local governments should do whatever it takes to protect them, and in a way as in, you know, we need to, I would say, you know, our mayor is doing a good job of it right now, you know, tracking people from Silicon, making tax laws for people to open up their businesses here, because we need their friends to continue coming. you know, and I think no one would have thought from Palm Beach down through the Gables to Key Biscayne that we'd have a market like this.
Awesome, thank you. Adriana?
Well, yes, I do also have an 11-year-old, so I cannot think of retirement, but for some reason, I think that when I worked Brickell City Center, I said, this is my last project. When I did Private Island, I said, this is my last project. And I went into Aqualina, I said, this is my last project. But after being home for 6 months, oh my God, my poor children. Literally, I don't know how to cook anything, and I had to cook breakfast, lunch, and dinner. So you imagine, they were really like, Mommy, when are you going back to work? Yes, I cook horrible, I have to admit. But I realized that, oh my God, retirement, 6 months at home, I cannot do this. So everybody that I know that would say, this is my last project, everybody's like, okay, what are we doing next? But everybody's asking, okay, what are you doing next? And I had decided to stay at Aqualina and help my developer with something new. And I am really excited about that. I believe that in this business, we build so many friendships, relationships, and I'm really blessed to have friends from all over the world that they always need. You know, they always have a question, an advice, and I really don't see myself retiring because I am passionate about what I do. I wake up every day excited. I don't know what it is to say, oh my God, I have to go to work today. Can I call in sick? No, that is not me. I literally took a week off last week, and it was my first week off in 3 years, okay? So I am embarrassed to say that in 3 years, I didn't take a week vacation, just simply because I love going to work, I love serving, I feel responsible, and every time that I am going to go on vacation, I say, oh my God, but I have this deal going on, this deal going on, or this new project launching. I have learned with COVID that I need to make time to rest, to regroup, to recharge, so I can serve all of you in a much better way. But I don't see myself retiring. I think I'm gonna be doing real estate in towers until I die. And can you tell that I'm passionate about it? You know?
So for all you new agents coming in, this is our competition. Yeah. It's all collaboration. Okay, so I'm gonna ask 2 of you a question and then 2 of you a different question because we're coming close to the end. But listings is clearly the name of the game, right? And especially in this market. I mean, we're talking about over asking, multiple offers. So how do you become a listing agent? Like, how can someone focus on getting more listings? And how can we continue to do that throughout the rest of our career? Are there any tips? And I want to ask Judy and I want to ask Phil. So Judy, you can go first. How do we become known? How do we become listing agents? And you know, I mean, I'm the type that I'll do it all, but I'm sure I get a lot of questions from realtors in this market that the only way we're going to survive is if we get listings.
So I think one of the most important things is to stay in touch with the people that you know and you work with in your inner circle. All of us have great inner circles. Every single person probably in this audience, and myself, I get a letter from someone every single day saying they have a client that wants to buy my house. So most of those, a lot of the sellers realize at this point that a lot of those people do not have the clients and they do not have anyone to buy the house. They're just mass letters that are being sent out. So I don't really think that's the best way to get listings. I think the best way to get listing is when you meet people and you're involved in charities, you're involved in community, you're involved in philanthropy, whether you're on a golf course, you like to play golf, whether you're on a tennis court, you're at the gym, and you meet people, you engage in them. You engage in a conversation, you talk to them, you let them know what you do and who you are, that where you live, tell me about your house. If you've sold a house, follow through. Thank the people. Make sure you've done a good job when you sold that house. Don't sell them the house, hand them the keys, and drive out the door and never see them again. Make sure that they're comfortable. How are the inspections? How is this? How is that? Do you need anything? Can we guide you? You're new in town. Let me show you the neighborhood. Can we introduce you to other people? because those contacts, those sales, those buyers, those sellers become, if you've done a good job, they're going to refer you business. This is a referral game. This is not something that you're just going to drop your name in the mailbox. We spend a lot of money on mailings and postcards and internet and all these other things. But most of our listings, honestly, 90% of them come from the years of doing business, of people knowing me, of them trusting me. I'm closing on something today. I talked to the client this morning, said thank you so much. It was so great working with you. I can't tell you how much I appreciate it. He said, it was an unbelievable experience. So-and-so is calling you to list their house. So I think if you do a good job and you have a happy client, that happy client is going to give you other happy clients. If you're new in the industry, I think it's really important to just, you go to lunch, you do different things, engage with people. And most importantly, more than anything in the world, talk to people, return a phone call. Like, I have so many people who tell me that they call me and they go, can you show me this house? And they'll say, I've tried to call the listing agent 15 times and they have not returned my phone call. Answer a text, answer an email. Do not have on your phone, if it's before 9 or after 5 or on a weekend, I don't return phone calls. We return phone calls. I'm on the internet, returning phone calls. I talk to clients at 3 o'clock in the morning. I'm up at 6. I work out every day. I'm on the phone from 7 to 8, 6:30 to 8 every single day on the way to the gym, as soon as I get out of the gym. If I know I'm waiting for a call, I answer the phone while I'm at the gym. So you have to be able to show people that you care and you're interested. If you don't return a phone call when somebody calls you within 2 hours, if you don't return a text, if you don't return an email, do not expect them to refer you business and do not expect them to list with you. My advice, engage, talk, communicate, show people you're professional and behave in a professional manner, and you'll get lots of listings.
Thank you, thank you. Bill?
So, referrals are obviously the easiest way to get listings, but I can tell all you guys how you can take a listing from all of us. It's the easiest thing, it is cold calling. No big broker wants to admit that if they've ever done cold calling. I'm not going to name any names, but some of the biggest brokers in South Florida cold call. And I'm dead serious about that. Sometimes I'll be driving up and down North Bay Road or Sunset Island and I'll see a sign and I'm like, I'll reverse my car. I don't know who that agent is. I'll call a couple of my other friends. We don't know who that agent is. And then I'll show the house. How'd you get the listing? Nothing. I looked them up and cold called them. It is literally that easy. You just have to do it, and then you get in front, give them a marketing plan. But referral business is obviously number one for us, because once you're in, year 3, year 7, year 9, year 11, year 13, year 18, your repeat business comes back if you do a good job, as Judy said, and treat your customer right and treat them first. But anyone can break in this business. It's a good thing, it's a bad thing too, in my opinion. But you can cold call, and trust me, you can get listings that way.
Thank you. Do you want to share something?
Yes, I do want to let you all know that I hope all of you have all your social media outlets completed and working. I can tell you that I live off the referrals of all of you, brokers, and that is exactly, for some reason I hear many of you saying, I hate Instagram, or I hate Facebook, or I hate LinkedIn. Listen, how are you going to be able to communicate with your friends from high school, the parents from your children's school? It is the easiest way to stay in contact. My boss was in San Jose last week, and he spoke to someone, and they said, oh, I know Adriana Vargas in Miami. And he said, really, how do you know her? Oh, I follow her on Instagram. So I have clients and brokers that refer me business that I have no idea who they are through social media. I do return all of my messages every single day, and if I know many of you, because I know I've seen you, you guys write me a message, I do always reply to them. Not Picking up your phone, your messages, your text, is not enough these days. You need to make the time to reply and answer all your messages that you're receiving on social media, because I have sold $10 million condos that way. And remember, I got my current position at Aqualina through Facebook, and my assistant for 2 years, I found her because her mother, which I didn't know her, wrote me on Facebook and introduced me to her daughter that was coming to Florida to go to FIU. So I recommend that you do work all your social media outlets. They do make money.
George, do you have anything else you would like to share? Okay. So I want to know give me one big takeaway from 2021, and then quickly where you see the market going in 2022.
Takeaway for 2021, it was awesome. I sold like over 150 million so far, and the year is not done yet. So, and I'm a solo operator. I'm very different than a lot of these guys here that have teams. It's basically me and my system. So I don't have a team. I'm just basically a solo, which actually, for managing cash flow on the next account, is actually pretty good because I don't have a lot of staff. So it is hard when you have a lot of staff, like the Zeder team and Bill and Brian that you have. So when cash flow goes down, you have a lot of stuff you're actually currently paying. So it's challenging. So I just enjoyed it, and I was wise with the commissions that I made, and I'm buying more and more properties for myself. 2022 is going to be a funky year for me, I think, because if we go back to what I said earlier, I'm really more of an advisor, good advice. I'm getting to the point now that with buyers that come here, if it's a short-term scenario, it's very difficult for me to justify telling them that they need to pay this kind of money for this house. So you're getting a little bit of I call it an inflection point, where you have buyers are, in a sense, getting tired. They're a little burnt because they're seeing stuff in North Bay Road or the Gables or wherever that sold for 10 million. Now it's asking 22 million in a year. It's like, it's really gone a little bonkers in that sense. So now if you have a client, there's a little bit of a moral issue in the sense, like if he's moving here, it's like, should I buy this house? And I'm like, you have to be really honest with them and say, listen, maybe you go into a rent situation, I don't know what it is. So it's a little bit of that funkiness. So I'm just getting ready for a funky year. I don't know what's gonna come. I'm just have a good attitude with it, and then, take it as the punches come. Sellers are dreamers at this point, think they're sitting on gold. And buyers are starting to get burnt out in the sense that they think like, whoa, we may get a second wave, believe it or not. I'm not sure where this group sees it. I've already seen a situation that we're also super bullish about this Boston people, Chicago people, New York people moving here. As the cities open back up again, don't be surprised if we get a little bit of an exodus of New York people leaving. It's already happened. There's a big property in Star Island right now that, guy moved here during COVID, bought this huge house, and now they're like, I'm not really big on Miami, and if you have David Tepper moved back to New Jersey. He's like, I don't pay taxes. I just want to be where my local restaurant that knows me forever. So we maybe follow that trend and ride that way, that these people that bought may have to sell. I don't know so it's going to be an interesting year. It's going to be like a little all over the place. So that's no wisdom there in my saying, but I'm ready for it. I'll just take it as it comes.
Bill, where do you see the market going in 2022?
So my biggest takeaway in 2021 is we can't catch the market right now, right? So, we just sold a home for 30 million in North Bay. Now I have another buyer and there's no inventory. So I have to call Judy or Jorge or the Jills and say, what's off market? Everyone is just kind of chasing the market, and these sellers are on another planet. Everyone wants these big numbers. The good thing is I do think we have a little bit more of this riding this wave up, because they just announced, the US is lowering their sanctions. So now we're opening up. So we didn't have South American buyers. We didn't have people from Europe. So now they're going to start coming in. We did a couple deals in Sunny Isles to some Russian buyers and Russian brokers. Sold a couple units in St. Regis, some of our listings. And now I'm in the lobby and I'm starting to see more international brokers speaking a foreign language coming in. So the first thing I do is I ask them, like, are they flying a private jet? Because obviously they can get here. And there's some of them are saying yes. They have to quarantine in the Bahamas, literally sit there for whatever, 10 days. And then they quickly come here, pick their condo, and they fly out. That's a good sign for us. So as the US just released that they're now going to allow, you know, vaccinated Europeans to come fly in, versus looking at your Instagram and seeing all of us going over there partying, because every time you open it up, there's some realtor in Positano or Capri. I didn't go this summer, but I felt left out. Every realtor is in Europe right now. Why am I working? I felt very, very left out for you guys who enjoyed Europe and Italy. But I think that we have another second wave. I do agree with Jorge that, and I'm seeing it with some of my clients, a lot of these people don't understand the summers in Miami. It's very hot, right? So they come here, they buy a very expensive property, and then they walk outside in August and they're like, what did I do? Sweating, can't play tennis, and they're out of here. So then it's like, do they go buy a place in Aspen? I spend my summers in Aspen with my family, so kind of work back and forth. So you're starting to see that they're like, oh, you know, I can spend 20 million and I can just resell it, maybe lose 2 million or maybe make more. So I think there's going to be a shuffle. People don't understand hurricane season down here that come here, and people don't understand the humidity and the heat. When a buyer experiences that, the wife will look at the husband, they'll make a decision if they're going to stay or not. So I do see some kind of shuffling. The pandemic allowed everyone to come in. We'll see how much it sustains over the next few years, but I do think we have another good 12 months, 12 to 15 is my forecast.
Awesome, thank you. Okay, I have one quick question that I'm just going to shoot off and ask each one of you. What hobby can you recommend that an agent should try to start networking with luxury clients and to start building a luxury business and breaking out into a new community? Jorge. A hobby, an activity. Maybe where should they go hang out?
I think it'd be like the typical, like, you know, the golf, the tennis, the polo, stuff like that. But no, I just say don't fake it. I mean, honestly, obviously find something that you're passionate about. You can find the most random things. Actually, the smaller, I've done, like Judy, a lot of philanthropic work and boards, etc. I'm in the board of, you know, a free hospital in Alabama. Sometimes the smaller boards, ultimately, I think can help you. It's going to be very difficult to, if you're not part of the polo thing, you know, start going to Wellington on the weekends and pretend that you can, you know. So I just say be authentic, you know, do something that you're passionate about, because when you share something with someone else, obviously, but that would be my hit. I mean, just do something that you're passionate about. That, again, going back to Judy and Bill, get out and meet people. This is a very personal business. This is about society. It's about it being a community. Real estate will always be community-based. You need to be out with people. And they'll call you a fake. If you don't like dogs, don't join the ASPCA thinking that you're going to do like whatever. If you don't like art, don't join the PAM board thinking that you're going to whatever and you're faking it, because they'll smell the rat really fast. You know, so.
Do you have anything to share, Judy?
Yeah, I agree with Jorge. I remember when my daughter Kara, who also works with us, came home from college. I said, and originally she was studying to go to law school, and then she, you know, the Great Recession hit. She decided not to go to law school, and she went into real estate. It was like the right decision for her, but like I was thinking, what the hell are you doing? But I looked at her and I said, you know, your last name is Zeder, and being a Zeder, you do something constructive. So I don't care what you do. You need to go out and you need to find a passion that works for you, whatever that passion may be. All my children grew up with playing tennis. They were all national players. She hated tennis. So I said, obviously it's not going to be a tennis court, and obviously it's not going to be something else. And you know, she joined a board called Christie House, which is for sexually abused children and women, that I had been on that board for about 9 years and stepped off of it. So she took it. She's president of that organization. I'm just giving you one example. She got involved in that. She's still president of it. Through that organization, she has met so many people that she's not only brought in who helped those poor children and helped the women who have been abused, but she's made contacts and they've know her as a passionate, caring, dedicated human being. So whatever that goal is, whether it's a charity, whether it's the gym, whether it's the golf course, whatever it is, like Jorge says, don't join something that you don't believe in. Find your passion. Go to it. I don't care if it's cooking. I don't care what it is. Find your passion and follow it through. And if you follow it through with your heart, you're going to open up so many doors, because you're going to meet wonderful people. And those people are going to not only become your friends, They will embrace you when you're in passion, and they will embrace you in real estate because they'll know that you are a dedicated and honorable human being.
Bill, any specific hobbies you can share with us?
I mean, I like, Thomas mentioned, I like golf. I'm terrible at it. I wish I could do it more. But I think any hobby...
You just made a connection.
I think any hobby that you can do where you're stuck with a client for an extended period of time, it would be a very good thing, right? So if your client is hiking and you gotta go hiking, well guess what? Cell phones don't work on a mountain. So now you're with them and you can talk about life and business and get close to them. I think just, you know, my operation manager, he was a sailor, sailing, does some great conversation piece, things like that, those hobbies. I think that a lot of our clients that are coming in town are very interested in water stuff like that. But yeah, just any hobby that I think will make you forced to spend some time with your clients would be a good thing.
Adriana?
To be honest with you, I really don't get clients from my hobbies. I had a flower shop for 7 years until the projects got too big and I just couldn't keep it anymore. And I do represent several foundations for Puerto Rican and children, but I really honestly do it because I love it and I'm passionate about helping people, families and children. It's been 5 years now since I don't sell anything 2 million and below. So honestly,
What do you do for fun?
He works.
What do I do for fun? Well, you know something, I love working. You know, that's why in 3 years I didn't take a vacation, but I have a lot of friends and they do require a lot of time and they took dinner, cocktails and breakfast and I try to make the time for them.
Yes, go ahead.
Yeah, one of the things I could add too that I don't want to, I was never that dad in reality, but it's not self-serving, but like Adriana, I have 3 kids, not kids anymore, 22, 21, and 14. For me, education was always like super important. So I stretched, but I always had them in the best schools. So my kids went to Gulliver, my daughter went to Carleton. Now my son just graduated from London Architectural School. My daughter's in Northeastern. But during the school years when they were here in Carleton, whatever, I was never that dad with a realtor. Hey, what are you doing? I'm the realtor. Can I help you? So, but I was always. It was a byproduct. That's what I'm saying. Sometimes I didn't do it to get business, but out of being a Gulliver and being involved in whether it was a gala, whether it was fundraising in Carleton, etc., that social circle, in a sense, you could say that my kids went to school for free at the end of the day. I never looked at it as a thing, but I got a lot of business out of the schools, but it was never my intention. But don't be that dad that's there kind of like hustling the PTA. Because that's horrible. Right? That's rare. So
Okay.
Yeah, and that was my message too. It's like, it's not about hustling. It's like being involved in a passion, whatever that is, and through that passion, you're going to meet friends and clients. You don't want to hustle. You don't want to sit somewhere and say, well, I'm in real estate and therefore you should hire me or work with me or, go cook with me. No, that's not what it is.
Okay, one word answer. If you could be anything other than a real estate professional, what would you be? Jorge.
Race car driver?
Judy.
Probably just a full-time grandmother. I enjoy it.
Goals. Bill.
TV sports analyst.
Oh. Adriana.
For sure, I would open my flower shop, florist again.
Oh, nice. Okay. And that is it.